is more based on the company. So if it were for a brand like Nike or Reebok, athletes, sports women would be the main or the ideal face of their brand, the ideal influencer per se. It doesn't necessarily need to be in a social network, but even in just commercials or in billboards, in advertisements, in between YouTube videos, as long as there's a face of an athlete, it shows off the brand. They could be wearing it, they could be drinking the, let's say, Gatorade, or they could be eating the protein bars. Anything of that sort. I think athlete and sportswomen definitely are the most influential, just because, especially here in the United States, I've noticed that there is a big audience when it comes to sports and dietary or like health based companies. It's all about the looks, and I think with athletes, it's the image that these companies are trying to achieve, the image that the audience is very, very attracted to. And then in second place, it's experts. Like I said before, a lot of the times the audience really are listening if the influencers do know what they're talking about, if they do have experience with the product or the service, because again, they don't have to experience it firsthand first and really dip their toes in the water without having that risk. It's kind of like someone else has already taken that risk for them, and it's just taking advice and really building that trust again. Actors, actresses, again, big names, models, even singers, anyone that is really has a big following, has a big audience, someone who is influential, maybe someone who is really popular and knows the modern, even just like the humor or what's going on in the world, if they are updated with social media. The more popular they are with the bigger audience, the more interactive it is, the higher the reach that we've talked about earlier. So with that, I do think that the survey results did not surprise me as much as I thought they would, just because, again, as an audience member myself, as a social media user, as someone who is being influenced by these influencers and with the products and the services that they advertise online, I am very well aware, and I do agree with the survey answers, like getting ads in between listening to songs on YouTube do bother me as well. And I do look up to those sports and athletes just because, again, I am also a consumer of those health benefits and exercise and all those activewear brands specifically. Like, I do look up to those athletes and all those fitness influencers. They are someone that I trust when it comes to that stuff, and I am also one of those people who are influenced. So not necessarily think that these surveys like surprised me, but there were a lot of information that I didn't necessarily think were that really new or that really stands out when you're researching this. But I do think with these survey results, they can be affected by demographics. Like I said earlier, in the previous slide where it talks about if people are aware if the post or the interaction that these influencers are having are advertised or if they're sponsored content. Again, with the demographics, if you're a little older, don't really know much about social media, it is easier for you to look over if is this an ad or is this just them talking about a product they love. I think the younger audiences that now have, or at least know how the advertising world works in social media, that are more aware when it is an ad. They are more knowledgeable and educated when it comes to online marketing than those who are a little bit older and are a little bit more used to traditional marketing like billboards and commercials. It also could be affected by the target niche. Again, it just is very specific to what brand, what company, what category of advertising you're really reaching for. Like I mentioned earlier with the Nike brand, like that is, sure, it's a clothing company that most people know. I am assuming 99% of the world knows about Nike or Adidas. But with smaller brands like Too Faced, that is a beauty brand. Like I mentioned with Bethany Mota, it depends on who the influencer is, what their product that they're advertising, that they're trying to sell, which companies they're partnering with. So these survey results really are they're affected by who is being surveyed and what they specifically like themselves, what they consume, who they follow, and as well as, the social media platform that's being used. A lot of the times on Facebook we get random ads, but on Instagram I think it's a little bit more curated to what we'd like, analytic wise. TikToks as well. Now TikTok's a really big one. I just read an article about how now you can shop on TikTok, just like how you can shop on Instagram now. So I think with TikTok, it's just a lot more of an active app that the analytics and the data that is being collected is a little bit more accurate than per se Facebook, which again kind of depends on the demographic. A lot of Facebook users a little bit more older, a lot of TikTok users a little bit more younger. So I think these survey results will vary depending on who you do decide to survey. But other than that, I definitely think that social media has a really, really big impact on this day and age sales, advertising with companies, and interactions with like the global community, especially now with the influencers. Influencers are such a big part when it comes to really engaging with all the target audiences that all these companies and teams and just personal brands are trying to reach. So hopefully you guys enjoyed and learned a little bit about the influencer world when it comes to sales with this presentation. I'd love to hear any feedback if you have any. And yeah, thanks for listening.